The mind keeps receipts. This is something that literally changed my life. Welcome to the Black Man Black Health Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Cost, and today we're going to talk about the mind keeping receipts. What does that mean? I learned this from my days of competing in powerlifting and bodybuilding and Olympic lifting. I wasn't the strongest, I wasn't the fastest, but I wasn't failing when it was time to compete. And where did this come from? It came from what I did behind the scenes, what I did in practice. And this is a life lesson that you can take and apply to spiritual part of your life, physical part, or even the mental part of your life. So I would know that we had to compete, me and a team or me by myself. And I would treat my practice like as if I was on the platform. So in powerlifting and Olympic lifting, it works where you're the only person on the platform and there's three judges. The judges have to all give you a white light, or two of the three have to give you a white light for the lift to be considered good. So I would always, when I go into my training, I would literally pretend that there's a judge, three judges around me, one in front and two on the side. So when I squatted or did cleans or did snatches, I would do it as if they were in front of me. And my reason was I wanted to tell myself and make myself understand that this is what it's going to look like when you have to do it in real time. If you can get in a relaxed state now, when it's time to get out there and people are screaming and yelling and distractions, you'll have a better chance. Now, this was proven every time I competed. Literally, I would see people who were a lot stronger than me, a lot faster than me, quicker than me. I knew they were that way because I had seen them train. But when it was time to compete, they would fold. They would literally crumble at the judges watching them. They would crumble at the people in the stands, distracting them. And I knew that was my advantage. Now, what do I mean the mind keeps receipts, and how do we apply this to our normal life? We always say, like, what you do in the dark will come out to the light. But let's use that in a way where the work you put in the dark will come out in the light. What you do behind scenes when no one's watching, it will come out in the light. So if I'm trying to be diligent in an area, if I'm trying to get my health right, if I'm trying to get my mental right, if I'm trying to get my spirit right, if I'm putting in work, when it's time for it to show, it will show. Same thing with studying. If you're studying relentlessly and you're putting in the hours, the days of learning something for your craft, it's going to come up. Same thing spiritually. I usually say people who don't study the Bible, it will show. People who don't take prayer seriously, it will show. The question is, what do you want to show? You're not doing it for the show, but what do you want to show? What happens when you're asked to do something that you know you can do, but you didn't put the work in behind the scenes? So take these 3 tips to work relentlessly or religiously behind the scenes. Number 1, I want you to map out what needs to be done and consider doubling it. Right, we had a challenge in one of my groups with one of my coaches, and the challenge was to create 10 videos in a month. And I told myself, hey, let's see if we can get 30. And the reason for that is I wanted the next month, I wanted to be so much better at creating the videos that I was willing to double the work. And yes, that may take more time, but you can figure those out. So number 1, consider your output and double it. Number 2, consider what mental state do I need to remain in. If I'm always anxious when I'm trying new things, if I'm always overwhelmed when I'm trying new things, how can I get in a state where I'm calm? How can I get into a state where I'm still? If I can do that, then you would see wonders happen. You'll see wonders literally happen. How can I get in a state where I'm calm? The Bible talks about being anxious for nothing. I think one of the main things that we struggle with is anxiety. And I think part of that is because of social media rushes us to do everything fast. The third thing is, I usually always say this, who can you be accountable to or with? Is there somebody who's literally pushing forward, who's on the same wavelength. Who can I be accountable with or accountable to? When I say accountable to, it definitely should be somebody who's further than you. It should not be somebody who's not further than you, because they're gonna think you're doing too much. Accountable with, it should be somebody who you know, hey, we're grinding together. We're grinding to get this together. We're not out here grinding so that we could just say that, but we're trying to get to a goal. Now, with all of those tips, remember, like the mind is going to remember the reps you put in behind the scenes. When we want our mind to show up strong when it's time for us to do what we're supposed to do. So take those words, be encouraged, and as always, if you need help, contact me, Coach Drew Cost, on all the socials, drewcost.com, if you need to go to the website. Be great, guys. I'm out of here.